You wake up at 3 a.m. Again, your eyes open suddenly. Your body feels exhausted, but your mind is already moving. And something about this moment feels off, because it's not just waking up, it's the way your brain turns on instantly. The thoughts begin, the alert feeling rises. Your body stays tired, but your mind doesn't slow down. It keeps scanning, it keeps processing, and going back to sleep feels almost impossible, like your brain refuses to shut off. If this keeps happening, it may not be random at all. Your brain might not be waking you up by accident, and what's actually happening in that moment has very little to do with insomnia itself. But before that fully makes sense, you need to see what your brain is doing behind the scenes. I'm Dr. Sarah, a sleep medicine specialist with a background in psychiatry, and over the years I've worked with thousands of patients facing the same pattern. People who feel completely drained during the day, even after spending hours in bed. People who start questioning their energy, their focus, even their own health. Many of them believe it's just stress or aging or something they're doing wrong, but what they experience at night tells a very different story, because something very specific begins to happen once the lights go out. Especially after 40, this pattern becomes more noticeable and more persistent, not because the body is failing, but because the brain becomes more reactive at night. The nervous system becomes more sensitive to subtle internal signals. Cortisol can rise at the wrong time without any external trigger. The circadian rhythm begins to shift in a less stable way, and the brain becomes more likely to enter a state of nighttime alertness, which directly interferes with the ability to stay asleep all night. They go to bed feeling tired, sometimes completely exhausted. Their body is ready to rest, their eyes feel heavy, and sleep begins normally. But beneath that surface, the brain never fully powers down. It remains partially active, quietly scanning in the background. It doesn't fully transition into deep restorative sleep, and that creates a fragile sleep state that can break at any moment. A sleep that looks normal on the outside, but isn't stable internally. Then, almost like a pattern, they wake up at 3 a.m., not gradually, but with a sudden sense of awareness. Their eyes open and their brain is already fully online. Thoughts begin to form instantly, without effort or intention. The mind starts moving faster, becoming more alert by the second, and even though the body still feels tired, the brain refuses to slow down, as if something inside is actively keeping it awake. And this is where frustration turns into confusion, because no matter how exhausted they feel, they can't fall asleep again. They try to relax their body, control their breathing, quiet their thoughts. They change positions, they close their eyes, they wait, but the brain doesn't respond the way it should, because it's no longer operating in a sleep state. It has shifted into something else entirely. So they start searching for answers and trying to fix the problem. They look for ways to stay asleep all night and wake up feeling restored. They follow routines, reduce screen time, try supplements, adjust habits. Some of these changes help temporarily, but the issue always returns, because they're trying to fix sleep at the surface level, while the real cause is happening deeper inside the brain. And once you see what that mechanism is, everything starts to connect. You go to bed feeling physically exhausted. Your body is heavy, your eyes struggle to stay open. Everything in you signals that it's time to rest. And for a moment, it feels like sleep will come easily, like tonight might finally be different, like your body is ready to recover. But your brain is not following the same rhythm. It stays slightly alert even in silence. It keeps scanning even with your eyes closed. It doesn't fully power down the way it should. There's a background activity that never completely stops, a subtle tension that doesn't go away even when you begin to drift into sleep. Your brain never fully lets go of control. So even when you fall asleep, you don't stay asleep. The sleep is light, unstable, easy to interrupt. Your system never reaches full depth, and at some point in the night, something shifts. You wake up without knowing exactly why, and your brain activates instantly as if it was waiting for that moment. Your mind turns on without permission. Thoughts begin to form and accelerate quickly. Not always anxious, but impossible to ignore. Your awareness increases instead of fading, and the more you notice it, the more awake you feel, until sleep feels distant again and your night becomes fragmented without control. This is why you wake up tired even after hours in bed, because your brain never allowed full restoration to happen. It interrupted the deeper phases of sleep. It kept you in a state between sleeping and being alert, a state where rest is incomplete, where recovery is constantly delayed, and where fatigue quietly accumulates day after day. And this is also why trying harder to sleep doesn't work, because effort is not the mechanism controlling this. You can't force the brain into shutting down. You can't think your way back into deep sleep. The problem isn't discipline, routine, or willpower. It's something deeper and automatic, something your brain is doing without asking you first. Most people believe this is insomnia. They assume it's a sleep disorder that needs to be fixed, or they think it's just stress building up during the day. Some believe it's overthinking that they can't control, so they try to relax more, think less, or force sleep to happen. But even when they do everything right, the pattern continues, because what's happening here doesn't follow those explanations. Sleep science shows something very different, something far more specific and far more predictable. This pattern is not random and it's not accidental. It follows a biological response inside the brain, a response that activates under very precise conditions. And once it starts, it changes how the brain behaves at night in a way that most people never realize is happening. In many cases, this response is triggered automatically, not by something you consciously feel or notice, but how your brain interprets internal signals at night. Signals related to safety, balance, and internal stability. When those signals shift even slightly, the brain reacts, and that reaction is not designed to help you sleep. It's designed to keep you alert even when you don't need to be. And this is where everything begins to connect, because the brain doesn't randomly wake you up at 3 a.m. It follows a pattern based on its own internal logic, a logic tied to protection, not rest. So when it senses something it interprets as not fully safe, it activates a state of alertness, even if there's no real danger present. And in that moment, your brain shifts out of sleep mode. It moves into a state of increased awareness. Your nervous system becomes more active. Your body stays still, but your mind becomes engaged. And that's when your thoughts begin to accelerate. That's when your brain refuses to slow down, and that's why going back to sleep feels so difficult. But to fully understand this, you need to see exactly what changes inside the brain, what triggers that shift into alert mode, why it happens at such a specific time, and what mechanism is actually controlling it. Because once you see that clearly, you'll never look at waking up at 3 a.m. the same way again. There's a state in sleep science that explains this pattern with precision. It's called the neural sleep inhibition response. Not a vague idea, but a defined biological response. A mechanism the brain uses to regulate nighttime safety, and most people experiencing 3 a.m. awakenings are inside this state without ever realizing it, because it doesn't feel like a response, it feels like insomnia. This is the brain's nighttime defense mode, a state designed to keep you alert when something feels off internally, even if there's no real external threat. The brain doesn't wait for danger to be obvious. It reacts to subtle internal signals, changes in rhythm, chemistry, or nervous system tone. And when those signals cross a certain threshold, this response activates. When the neural sleep inhibition response turns on, everything shifts. Your nervous system moves out of deep recovery mode. It becomes more reactive, more sensitive, more alert. Cortisol, which should stay low at night, can begin to rise too early. Not enough to fully wake the body, but enough to activate the brain. And that small shift changes the entire sleep architecture, creating instability where there should be depth and continuity. At the same time, your circadian rhythm loses precision. The timing signals that guide sleep become less stable. The brain struggles to maintain consistent sleep cycles. Transitions between stages become weaker, and instead of moving deeper into rest, the brain hovers in a lighter, more fragile state, a state that can break at any moment during the night. This is what we call brain alert mode, a condition where the body appears asleep, but the brain is not. It remains partially active, partially vigilant, scanning, processing, staying ready. And in this mode, the brain cannot sustain deep sleep because deep sleep requires full disengagement, and this state prevents that from happening. So the brain blocks deep sleep on purpose, not because something is broken, but because from its perspective, staying alert is safer, even if that perception is inaccurate or unnecessary. This is not a failure of sleep. It's a protective mechanism working at the wrong time, and this is where everything begins to make real sense. When the neural sleep inhibition response is active, the pattern becomes predictable. You may fall asleep, but the depth is never fully reached. Your body relaxes, but your brain stays partially engaged. The transition into deep sleep becomes incomplete, and that creates a fragile state that feels like sleep but isn't restorative. A state where your brain is still monitoring everything, even when you believe you're fully asleep. At some point during the night, that fragile balance breaks. You wake up, often at the same exact time. Around 3 a.m., your eyes open without warning. There is no gradual return to consciousness. Your brain activates instantly without hesitation, as if it was already preparing for that moment, as if something inside triggered the shift. Your thoughts begin to form almost immediately, not slowly, but with speed and clarity. Ideas, memories, random concerns start to surface. Your awareness becomes sharper instead of fading, and the more you notice it, the more awake you feel. Your mind starts racing even if you don't want it to, and silence becomes filled with mental activity. Even if your body is completely exhausted, nothing changes. You try to relax, but the brain doesn't respond. You close your eyes, but your awareness remains high. You attempt to slow your breathing to calm your system, but the internal alertness stays active because the brain is no longer operating in sleep mode. It is already shifted into something else. It's now in alert mode, a state driven by the nervous system and cortisol timing, where vigilance replaces restoration, where the brain prioritizes awareness over recovery. And in this state, deep sleep cannot be sustained, because deep sleep requires full disengagement, and this state prevents that from happening entirely. And this is why sleep through the night becomes so difficult, not because you can't sleep, but because your brain won't allow it. It interrupts the natural flow of your sleep cycle. It keeps pulling you back into awareness. It fragments what should be continuous rest, and it repeats this pattern night after night. But the real question is, why does this happen so precisely at that hour? For many people, this pattern becomes more noticeable after 40. Not suddenly and not all at once, but gradually, night after night, it starts to repeat. What once felt occasional becomes more consistent. Waking up at 3 a.m. becomes familiar, and staying asleep all night becomes less predictable, even for those who never struggled with sleep before. This doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It reflects natural biological changes in how the body regulates sleep. The brain becomes more sensitive to internal signals. Subtle shifts that were once ignored are now detected, and the system that controls sleep becomes more reactive, especially during the most vulnerable hours of the night, when the body depends on stability to remain in deep sleep. Cortisol plays a key role in this shift. After 40, its timing can become less precise. Instead of staying low throughout the night, it may rise too early, not enough to fully wake the body, but enough to activate the brain. And that small shift is all it takes to trigger a shift out of deep sleep into alert mode. At the same time, the circadian rhythm becomes less stable. The internal clock that regulates sleep loses some consistency. Signals that once aligned perfectly begin to drift slightly. Transitions between stages become weaker, and the brain becomes more vulnerable to interruptions, especially during the early morning window, when sleep is naturally lighter and easier to disrupt. The nervous system also becomes more responsive at night. It reacts faster, even to minimal internal changes. A small imbalance can lead to a larger reaction, and the brain interprets that reaction as a need to stay alert, which increases the likelihood of activating the neural sleep inhibition response, even when there's no real danger present. And once that response is triggered, the pattern repeats. Staying asleep all night becomes more difficult, waking up at 3 a.m. becomes more frequent, and going back to sleep becomes more challenging, even if you follow every recommended habit perfectly, which is why so many people feel stuck in this cycle, trying to fix sleep without ever reaching the real trigger behind it. The solution isn't forcing sleep. It's not about trying harder or doing more. It's not about controlling your thoughts or shutting your brain down, because the brain doesn't respond to pressure. It doesn't respond to effort in the way most people expect. And the more you try to force sleep, the more resistance the brain tends to create. The brain responds to signals, not force. It constantly reads internal conditions to decide what to do. It evaluates safety, balance, and stability, and based on those signals, it either allows sleep or blocks it. This happens automatically without conscious control, which is why effort alone never solves the problem, because the mechanism is deeper than behavior. To return to deep, uninterrupted sleep, something specific must shift. The brain needs to feel safe again during the night, not logically, but biologically. It needs to stop interpreting the night as a moment of vigilance and start recognizing it as a moment for restoration. That shift doesn't come from thinking differently. It comes from changing the signals the brain receives. That includes stabilizing cortisol patterns throughout the night, keeping cortisol low when the body is meant to be resting, supporting a more balanced and less reactive nervous system, reducing unnecessary internal activation during sleep hours, and helping the circadian rhythm become consistent again, so the brain can follow a predictable and stable sleep cycle without unexpected interruptions or sudden activations. But the most important shift happens at a deeper level. It involves reducing the neural sleep inhibition response itself, lowering the brain's tendency to enter alert mode at night, allowing the sleep switch to activate without resistance, and restoring the brain's ability to fully disengage, which is essential for deep and continuous sleep. Without that, true restoration cannot happen. When this process begins to normalize, the change feels natural. Sleep becomes deeper without being forced. The brain stays quiet for longer periods, night awakenings become less frequent and less intense, and you begin to sleep through the night again. Not because you tried harder, but because your brain finally allowed it to happen. That's why some people choose to support this process in a more natural way, not by forcing sleep, but by improving the conditions behind it. They focus on helping the brain return to a balanced nighttime state instead of trying to override what the brain is doing. Because once you understand the mechanism, the strategy becomes very different. It becomes about support, not control. This type of support usually involves specific compounds, not random ingredients, but targeted combinations designed to calm the nervous system without sedation, to help regulate cortisol during the night, and to reduce unnecessary brain activation, especially during the early morning window, when the brain is most vulnerable to waking up. Some of these compounds work by signaling safety to the brain, helping it shift out of that alert state more easily. Others support the stability of the circadian rhythm, allowing sleep cycles to flow without interruption. And over time, this creates a more consistent sleep pattern where the brain no longer feels the need to stay on guard, and deep sleep becomes more accessible again. A key part of this process is gently lowering the neural sleep inhibition response, not shutting it down, but regulating its intensity, so the brain doesn't activate it unnecessarily at night. This allows the sleep switch to remain active longer without being interrupted by sudden alert signals, and that's what makes it possible to stay asleep even during the most sensitive hours of the night. This isn't about forcing the body into sleep. It's about giving the brain what it needs to allow sleep, working with the body instead of against it, creating the internal conditions for natural restoration, without dependence, without harsh interventions, just supporting the biology that already exists, so sleep can happen the way it was designed to. This type of approach is often recommended by professionals, especially those focused on sleep physiology and brain function, because it aligns with how the brain actually works. And if you want to see the specific support I trust most, the one designed around these exact principles, you can find it in the first pinned comment, where everything is explained in more detail. Now, here's what most people still don't realize. This pattern is not random and it's not unpredictable. There is a very specific reason it happens the way it does, a timing that repeats itself with surprising precision, night after night, almost like a programmed response. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it anymore, because your brain is following a very clear internal schedule. There's a reason this alert state tends to happen at the same time, not earlier in the night and not randomly before morning, but within a very narrow window of time, a window where the brain becomes more sensitive, where small changes begin to shift subtly, and where small changes can trigger larger reactions, especially when the system is already slightly unstable. For many people, this happens between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m., a moment when the body is still supposed to be in deep rest, but something begins to change beneath the surface. Cortisol starts preparing for its natural morning rise, the nervous system becomes slightly more active, and the brain evaluates whether it should stay asleep or wake up. That decision happens faster than you can perceive it, and when the conditions are not perfectly aligned, the brain shifts into alert mode too early. That's where the neural sleep inhibition response comes in. It interprets that shift as a signal to stay aware, even if there is no real reason to be awake. And once that response activates, the entire sleep cycle is interrupted in seconds. This is why the timing feels so consistent, why you wake up at almost the exact same hour, why your brain turns on instantly in that moment, and why going back to sleep feels so difficult. Because it's not just a random awakening, it's a biological transition happening at the wrong time, driven by signals most people never realize are there. In the next video, I'll show you exactly what triggers this shift, why your brain activates during that specific window, and how cortisol timing directly influences this response. You'll see what's happening inside your system in real time and why this pattern repeats night after night. Because once you understand that mechanism clearly, you'll finally see how to stay asleep all night again.